two that we read about. I mean, these woes are on humanity. Remember, you and I that are saved and know Christ as our personal Savior are going to be with Jesus. We're going to be with Jesus at this time, so I'm glad about that. So glad I got saved October the 9th of 2001, put my faith and trust in Jesus Christ, so that since God's not a wife beater, I'm going to be gone. This is God beating up the earth.
Is this happening when people are living where they said like the child 100 years old?
No. This comes after that. No, that's the millennial reign. Yeah. And so all right, well, let's look at verse 1 through 12, and as the fifth angel sounds the fifth trumpet. And let's just read it again, verse 1 through 12, and then we'll look at this. And it says, and the fifth angel sounded, I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as teeth of lions, and they had breastplate as it were breastplates of iron. The sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots and many horses running to battle, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their powers to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. One woe is past. Behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And so we got woe is right. A lot of comparable languages, a lot of ads, a lot of likes, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of metaphoric words and things like that, as John is seeking to be able to describe what he is seeing to people so that they'll understand it in some way, shape, or form. And so the woes of the first trumpet. So verse 1 and 2, it says that there's this fifth angel, and he saw a star fall from heaven unto earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. So most commentators think this is Satan. He's given the key to the bottomless pit to release these demons that are out. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not going to argue with somebody over it, but the fact of the matter is, I think this is just some angel that Jesus gives the key to the bottomless pit to go open the bottomless pit and to release these, whatever they are, and to release the smoke at least. Because notice in a minute that it says they came out of the smoke, not out of the pit. But anyway, I think it is just some unnamed angel that Jesus gave the key to. So this star, this angel that came from heaven, and a lot of reason they say that is because in Luke 15 he said, I saw Satan fall as a star from heaven. And so I mean, but there's other reasons, and they're probably right, I'll be honest, but I just can't get any peace about it when I read it. I don't know, but because if Satan is supposed to be indwelling the Antichrist, and he's not omnipresent, I don't see how he can be this guy getting cast out of heaven to the bottomless pit and be indwelling Antichrist both at the same time. He can't be in two places at once. Impossible.
So who is Abaddon?
Abaddon, I believe Abaddon, we'll talk about that in a minute. And Apollyon, I believe that's the devil.
Okay, then what? That's why I don't think it's the devil, because that's too
Another reason. Another reason. That's just another reason.
All this happens during the 7-year tribulation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it gives you time frames really laid out pretty in Daniel. So.
Is this in the first part?
No, this is the second half. This all taking place in the second half. In the last 3.5 years, what we're looking at the last 2 weeks.
You shouldn't kill them, so are they going to vaccine for that too?
Yeah, we're coming up with a good vaccine for it, I'm sure. I found out that the New World Order is working on it. I just personally think it's an unnamed angel, somebody else, not the devil. And so anyway, but being honest, I'll find out when I'm watching or whatever.
I get sealed God.
That, remember the 144,000 were sealed before those?
Okay, so it's not, it's just the Jews.
Just those 144,000. There's gonna be a lot more Jews than that that are saved.
Okay, they'll have a seal,
The 144,000 will.
not the other.
I don't know. I've been studying that too, because the Bible says that he knows those that are his. And then it kind of explains that the ones that are tormented are the ones in verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands. And so it kind of tells you, I believe, who is being stung. I think God's people is going to be separated from this, even though they're not specifically mentioned. Like in the Israel. Yeah, in the plagues of Egypt in the book of Exodus. I think it's going to be like that because he specifically says, and the rest of them which were not killed, he's talking about with those that are unrighteous, and so it's not talking about God's people there in verse 20 and 21. And so that's, I don't think God's people are going to be stoned by these locusts. Because God knows those that are his, but they're definitely not going to touch the ones that are sealed, the 144,000 Jews that are sealed, they're definitely not going to touch those. And so anyway, verse 2 through 12 describes these locusts. Verse 2 through 12, and I believe the reason he described them as locusts is because they came out as a horde. Because they don't look anything like locusts. They don't look anything like locusts, and they're commanded not to hurt any green thing. They're not, and so they don't look anything, but and so I just believe it's a horde of demons that have been prepared for this time.
And what I noticed in number 2 is it just keeps getting darker,
Yeah, once the third part of the light, now the smoke and there's darkening it some more, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil.
You're right.
And you want darkness? We'll give you darkness. And so yeah, he opens, and there arose this smoke out of the pit, out of this bottomless pit. There arose this smoke as a great furnace, and the sun and the air.
That's what.
The very air was darkened. It wasn't just the sun that got darkened; the whole air. Everything about the air was darkened by this smoke that came out of the bottomless pit. And then it says in verse 3 that there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Notice it says came out of the smoke. It doesn't even say they came out of the pit. It says they came out of the smoke. Now, I don't know if these are possibly demons that were already on the earth working, and they're just given bodies here, or if they literally came out of the pit. Because there's different places that talk about the pit and people, things like that.
But the smoke came out of the pit.
Yeah, smoke came out of the pit for sure, but the locust came out of the smoke.
So,
And so we don't know if the smoke came out, and then the locust came out after the smoke was all out, or if they came out together. But it does specifically say, it doesn't say they came out of the pit, it specifically says they came out of the smoke. And so were they already here, and the smoke is what came out of the pit?
When you said that, I used to watch all those forensic science shows, and they spray that stuff on and the blood splatter shows up. Maybe they were already here and that smoke was just what made
Might
it.
reveal them.
You know what I mean? Because they're all around us. They're all around. We know
There
they're
are
all
millions
around
of demons all around us
all
all
the
the time.
time. If we don't see that.
I don't know if this just reveals.
But you gotta remember, there's two thirds, good.
Yeah, that's right. There's a third of one, 2/3 of the other. So I mean, we got more good guys than bad guys. And so anyway, whatever it might be, it doesn't really matter. But these demons demons are spirits. Angels are spirits. Demons are spirits. They have no natural form that we know of. And they seem to take different forms when they come. I mean, the angel, you see them in all different kinds of forms. And so sometimes they're big, giant, mighty army. Sometimes, so here we see these demons. They come out. They look like, to John, they look like locusts, and because they come out in this giant horde, and so I just believe these forms were given to them, and this is because they, I mean, remember, think about it, demons going to pigs, demons going to humans, demons going to dogs, demons going to different things. And God prepared, like God prepared a fish to swallow up Jonah, prepared that well. Yeah, that well was prepared for that time and that moment to swallow up Jonah. While he's being prepared for this time and this moment. So anyway, it's a lot going on. But anyway, these specially made locusts, since that's what the Bible calls them, demons for this purpose and this time, for this thing, and it says that they look like horses. And they had, as it were, as it were crowns. They had, verse 3 it says, and there came out these locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the power of the scorpions of the earth have power, which means you can make people sick. Verse 7, and the shapes of locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, and many horses running to battle, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. So these specifically made, specifically empowered, whatever you want to call them, they're like horses that run to battle. They sound like chariots and horses rushing into battle. They had faces as the face of men. That's interesting. They got faces like the face of men. It's like some kind of horror movie we're watching here. And they got faces like the face of men, but then they have long hair like ladies, like women. They got the face of a man. I don't know if they got a beard or what, but then they got long hair like women. That's what's the difference between a man and a woman. And so very important. And so, but anyway, they got teeth as the teeth of a lion, like big teeth. They got, I mean, these are just crazy looking.
I think it is a horror movie.
It will be. Worse than.
The thing too, aren't locusts like what? Piglets or like whatever?
Yeah.
We're talking horses as in
Yeah.
5-6 feet tall.
Yeah. And so
I'm not an artist, but I wish somebody could draw that because once you get these iron breastplates and the stings, there's something, I don't remember where it was, but when I was teaching in school, we were reading something and it was like, well, your planes, if you look at them from a distance, they got the iron and they got, all this stuff. I wonder if they're gonna have a new plane that looks.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this, they're going to look pretty wild, and they're going to have an incredible power. Because they're going to be able to hurt and not kill you.
It was 7 years, 5 months, the times of the Bible, is that the time that we know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because you think this is going, but they're when they sting somebody, they're going to be sick 5 months.
And that's earth time.
Yeah, that's regular time. Yeah, that's just regular time. I can't see any reason for it to be any other. Because there's plenty of time for this to happen. I mean, you think, if I just went back to Barack Obama's 8 years in the presidency, and we just went back to that, the changes that happened in the United States were so dramatic. When Barack Obama came into office, I never imagined what our country would be like at the end of those 8 years. I mean, it absolutely floored me, crushed me. I mean, I was really distraught the second term of Barack Obama. When he got reelected, I was like, how in the world did we get here? I mean, I wept days because of just how destructive, how he literally destroyed our whole nation in that time period. I mean, we had been headed that way already, but the fact of the matter is, those 8 years of Barack Obama were phenomenal, indestructible, and that was just one little guy.
Look at 1 month of white.
And look, yeah.
So he wants Obama in 1 month.
And we've had Corona for a year, and this is gonna be 5 months.
Right, and so this is just 5 months. I mean, we just found out how fast the world can change. with the whole, I had to wear a mask in the Bass Pro Shop. Redneck Haven. You gotta wear a dumb mask in there.
Where?
Bass Pro. Now the outlet store, which is the one I like to shop at anyway, that one didn't have to wear a mask. I mean, it said big signs out there, but the fact that I gotta move on. It's all political stuff, I get myself in trouble. But,
And this is
oh, it's political, believe me, let me tell you something. Politics falls apart at this point. All I want to do by the time we get here, the tribulation period, all everybody wants to do is kill each other. So it's verse 3 through 6. We have a description of what they do. It says, and there came out a smoke locust upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth had power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth. Now that's totally different than any locust. Separate band, because locusts, that's what they do. They destroy earth, they destroy grass and trees and plants and all that. Neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he strikes the man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Right now, people want to stay alive no matter what. They're doing everything they can to try to stay alive. But when they get stung by these demonic beings, they're going to wish they were dead.
You're gonna try to commit suicide, you can't.
And won't be able to. Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where they put a gun to their head and it won't pull. They got dead ammo. They try to stick a knife in their heart and a blade bench. You need to cut their wrist and they won't bleed.
But what if it goes through? They're not gonna die.
Yeah, right. And even if it goes through, they're going to still have. These guys that get stung by these are not going to be able to die.
Well, maybe that means they'll be in some sort of like paralyzed state to where they can't physically do
Maybe.
anything, but they're there consciously and feel it.
That might be true. That's very possible. That they're just in a coma or some kind of paralyzed state. Yeah, who knows?
I always pictured, after reading that, I always pictured somebody jumping off the Empire State Building.
Yeah, bouncing.
Or they're splattered.
That's a set, yeah, but they don't die.
No, man. I don't know how it's all going to work. Well, David, go over and get. Wow, isn't it? Amen.
Will we be absorbing all this?
Nope.
I believe we'll be able to see it. I don't.
The Bible says the former things don't come to our mind. We're not gonna.
Not until after all this is wiped away. Not until Revelation chapter 20.
Read my scripture.
In Revelation 20, the Bible says all tears should be wiped away from their eyes, and things will come to remembrance no more, and no sorrow, no sighing, no tears, none of that stuff. That comes all after Revelation chapter 20, and so. But here's the deal. Here's the thing. I'll go ahead and say this. We are going to have the mind of Christ when we see this happen. We're not going to see it from the viewpoint that we see it from now. Now, I believe we're going to have, I don't think it's going to feel good, I don't think anything like that, but the fact of the matter is, we're going to look at it from a way different view that you can't comprehend what it's going to look like to you right now. Because it's going to be so different when we have a perfect mind, a perfect heart, perfect, flesh, all that stuff is made perfect, and we're with Christ, and we're viewing it from His point of view. And I don't know what that is yet. And so I think we're going to see it, and because we're ever going to be with the Lord, and the Lord is highly involved in this. And so anyway, the torment will be the torment, not kill. The power to sting. And they will seek death, but won't find it. 5 months of agony of some sort, whether it's in a coma or that they're wide awake, but they can't move or can't do anything, or whether they just can't kill themselves or die in some way. Whatever it might be, it's going to be unrelenting misery and pain for them. Now their king, in verse 11 and 12, it says they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, Apollyon. And so this is their king, and I believe this to be Satan. Now if you go to Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 27, you don't have to, but it tells us that locusts have no king. Regular locusts have no king.
Scripture that.
Proverbs 30 and verse 20. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. Proverbs 30, verse 27.
Funny we ended up here this morning, I was reading in Joel, it was talking about the locusts and
The
cankerworms
locusts.
and all
Yeah,
that
the
stuff.
palm worm.
Yeah, so I was just studying this morning.
Yeah. Proverbs 30, verse 27. Says, the locusts have no king, yet they go forth all of them by bands. And so we see that the locusts have no king, regular locusts have no king, so another reason that they're, no, but these have a king, so that tells me that they are definitely not any kind of regular locust or anything like that. But they do have a king, and one thing we know is that all demons have a king. All demons, all fallen angels have a king, and his name is Satan. And so I believe this is, the king is, he's just the primary one, by the way. It doesn't mean he's got great authority. He's got great authority over these demons, but it says he's the king of the bottomless pit, and I think that just simply means that he is the top one. And so,
If the smoke came from the bottomless pit and said the king of the bottomless pit is their leader, is their king, wouldn't that kind of say they come from the?
could be, yeah, and that's definitely an argument for that. Yeah, no, that's definitely definitely could be. Oh, yeah. But you read Luke 16, and you can tell the people in hell know what's going on, because the rich man in Luke 16 thought about his family being unsaved, and wanted Lazarus to go tell his family about Jesus. That was in, well, it was in hell, yeah, it wasn't in,
Kind of free though.
well,
You know, well, for them, I thought it.
It's a holy place. Well, in the lake of fire, I think you're probably right. But they're going to have complete understanding of everything that happened in their life, because that's what they're there for.
I meant this, like. all
Yeah, what
this
they're
stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know, probably. I don't know if they don't care. I mean,
So, understand angry, that's all they-
yeah. And so anyway, these, so I believe that's Satan, Apollyon, Abaddon, and so their king being Satan. All right, the sixth angel. Pretty boring so far, so maybe this will get a little more exciting. Yeah. Yeah, that's what he uses all his means for. The devil's probably never been to our church. He's probably never been here. I mean, we might be on his, we're definitely on his radar, but I doubt he's ever been here, personally. Yeah, and so he can't be in two places at once. He's not omnipresent like God is, so. But I do believe he can move fast, so. So anyway, verse 13 through 19. It says, "And the sixth angel sounded, I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and then they sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and jasper, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths goeth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of man killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. With the powers in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Well. Got some pretty interesting locusts in the first time, and now we got some pretty interesting horses and riders. The sixth trumpet sounds in verse 13, and it says that the sixth angel, there was a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth head, this is probably the same angel voice, angelic voice from chapter 7, verse 2 and 3. Doesn't really matter, but it came from the altar. But usually the altar was a place to find mercy. Remember, all through time, the altar was a place to go and make sacrifice and find mercy. Not anymore. Now the altar is the altar of judgment, the altar of wrath, the altar of judgment. And so, not so now. And so verse 14 through 16, the four angels, bound angels, fallen angels, bound for this time to lead this army of demons. It seems like these guys are raised up to lead this army of demons, and their king, obviously the devil, and this army, these four demons that are brought out of that. It's interesting because Euphrates is that area is the center of so much stuff. I mean, that's where Nimrod and all that took place. That's where Cain, they believe, killed Abel, and the area of the Garden of Eden was in that area by the river Euphrates, and there's so much biblical significance concerning this area. Nimrod and the Tower of Babylon, all that. Yes.
There's the four rivers right from there.
Yeah, four heads.
And this is the four.
Yeah. And they're raised out of that great river Euphrates. That's the one Abraham had to cross, and so much biblical significance in this. And it says, so I believe these are these are raised up to lead this army, and man, they're created for this purpose, to kill.
And this army, I'm terrible with math, 200,000.
Yeah, it's 200 million. Yeah, 200
Well,
million.
that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, 1,000 is a million, and so this would be a 200 million. And a lot of people think, a lot of people mad, like, I can't remember his name. I call him the Walking Bible. But anyway, he thought this was an army of people. And China was going to be the place where this army came out of, because they could have a big enough, but good night if you read it. These people are not human in form, they're not human. These are not humans we're talking about. We're talking about a demonic horde of 200,000. And almost 8 billion.
What was that?
Oh, at this time, what do you think 25% of them are dead? Probably 5% raptured.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little more than that, so.
Okay, so they, I forgot what it compares that to, but if it was 8%, that's a lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, and so I don't know. But I know there's about to be a third less.
Okay.
And so we're looking at 58% dead after this judgment.
So at this point, is the people still all spread over the whole world, or are people kind of in an area?
Probably both, because they're gonna, I don't know who all's dying, who all's living, where they're at, or anything like that.
Like, I'm trying to picture, is it like everybody's here in the United States, or is it like in these foreign jungle, you know what I mean?
Well, here's what we know. We know all the people that were raptured are gone. We know that 25% were gone, and that 33% are gone. So that's 58% plus whoever was raptured of the population of the earth is going to be dead or raptured out of here by this time.
By the time it happens.
By the time this judgment is taking place, by the time this judgment is over, I guess I should say, by the time this judgment is over, there's going to be 58% of the population gone. 50 dead. That means dead. And that's not, like I said, I don't think that includes the Christians that have been martyred. It's not talking about the souls under the altar. It's not talking about the ones that are going to be martyred. And so there's billions and billions of people. And like I said so many times throughout the book of Revelation, blood runs like rivers through the whole book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, blood runs like rivers. I mean, it never stops running. It never stops flowing. And it's culminated in the Battle of Armageddon when the Bible says the blood runs bridle deep on a horse, which we'll get to later. But, man, and that's because
People say during the second half.
oh yeah, probably as many if not more during the first. Because, I mean,
Who's not gonna be like,
where sin did abound, grace did much more abound. But the thing is, people are going to be so evil in their heart that we're going to see here in just a minute that no matter what happens, a lot of people ain't repenting no matter what.
Yeah.
And we just see that today, though. We just see the hardness of man's heart, and just today. And so,
They'll blame it on global warming or something.
oh, right, exactly. And so anyway, this huge army of demonic killers, and it's interesting, the horses do pretty much the killing. It's not the riders. It says the horses and the smoke and the brimstone and the fire, it does most of the killing. And it's kind of hard to get your my little pea brain around. And here's the thing, I just tell it. I read it, I get up there and teach it to the best of my ability. I'm like, I have no idea what this is going to be like, but it's insane. And it's like, man, and I'm glad I don't really comprehend it. Because I mean, just this, I saw horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and zinc and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Fire-breathing, lion-headed horse. Yeah, I do believe in fire-breathing dragons. The Bible talks about it. There used to be things like that that breathe fire and
The other horses back with the locusts, they had teeth like lions.
yeah, now they got heads. Now these horses got manes, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, so this is the sixth woe, the second woe, the sixth trumpet. These guys are created, and literally 1/3 of the non-sealed population is killed. 25%'s been dead. Now over half the population is killed. There in verse 17 to 19. And yeah, so by these three was 1/3 part of being killed by fire, by smoke, and by brimstone. Now that may have just been those that killed by fire, smoke, and brimstone, and maybe more killed by the riders. You see what I mean? I've always said this whenever I've taught Revelation or taught out of Revelation. You always come away with more questions than you do answers. And God does it that way on purpose so that we keep seeking. So we keep reading. Yes.
So, all right, so God sealed his people, but the mark of the beast has not been done yet, correct?
No, it's done.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that actually happens. We'll go back and look at that in the interlude. There's an interlude coming up where it explains the mark and explains a lot of the things that happened before.
Okay.
And the book of Revelation is not written in chronological order. A lot of it's in chronological order in pieces, but then there's interludes where he goes back and tells the backstory of things that happened while this was going